To the Batmobile.
What is going on, my dough brothers and my dough sisters? We have got a lot to cover. It's your World War Dough crash course. But first, welcome to Jets and Fleet Gaming. I'm Jerry the Tree Wiz. It's going to be a beautiful day today, so you just downloaded the game. What do? What are all these things? What is this shape? What is that shape card? Why does this have a glow around it? We're going to go over not just what everything means, we're going to talk about what every card does, how much dough they cost, what dough is. So keep it locked here if you need to know any of that information. And also, if you're just one of our amazing pros or just fans who watches this channel, keep it locked in this video and let us know in the comments anything you could add to help the community out. This video is by request. We've had a lot of people say, why don't you do any beginners content? We did at the beginning because we were a beginner, but we're getting kind of good now. So I want to come back and revisit sort of what a cycle card is. I want to talk about what a win condition is. I want to talk about the difference between a spell, but let's just get right into it because we're only going to learn by doing it. We're going to go in order of dough cost. So you can see we've got our 1 dough cards all the way down here to our heavy hitters, our 9 dough card right now, which is the highest card, unless you count magic missiles, but we'll get into all that. First thing I want to show you is, let's start simply, the Snowflake. The Snowflake is a building card. The Snowflake is extremely powerful when you are trying to use it against large groups, when you can play it ahead of time, not reactionary. You play it ahead of time. Sometimes you can play it reactionary before a group of piranhas gets down there, but the reason you can't play it reactionary is this type of building is a mine. Mines take 3 seconds to arm. Before that time, they are not invisible, and then they go invisible, and they can be targeted by troops and retargeted by troops. So mines are not meant to be a reactionary play. You should play them first. Good counters for the mine. You can always throw a Killbot, which each one of these things I say, if you don't know what it is yet, be patient. We'll get down. We'll show you where Killbot is. This was a mine card, which is a building. So the mines take 3 seconds to arm. You'll see that when we get to these other mines. The next type of card we're going to look at is one unique to this game. It's called an artifact. This artifact is teleport. So what makes an artifact very cool in this game is you can't cycle it without using both phases of the card. What I mean by that is the first time you use this card, it's going to allow your commander to teleport, and then it will not leave your hand. It will become this card, which is able to send units back. This first stage is extremely useful for getting your commander around the map in times when you either need to be aggressive or times when you need to run away. This is great when you need to get something off of your tower. It will teleport everything that gets caught in it. So one mammoth, which we'll get to what a mammoth is, or one group of piranhas, it'll teleport the whole group back one time. That is an artifact card. You get artifacts by going up the Tower of Loot and getting dough shards, which if you haven't found the Tower of Loot, it is over here, and it is extremely fun to do. You do by completing the challenges, and you climb up the tower. But back into this. The next card we're going to look at, this is a spell card. Once again, it's 1 dough. When you first download the game, you're not going to be able to see how much dough the cards cost that you haven't unlocked yet. So we'll take a look. You'll get to see what each one costs, what each one does. This being a spell card, it is something that you use. It is not a troop card, and you can tell that by the fuzzy ring around the outside. You see how this card has a fuzzy ring around it? The artifact has a fuzzy ring in a diamond shape. The mine we talked about has a more structured outside to the perimeter of the card. So you can see the mine, that's a building card. The next card is an artifact card. The next card is a spell. So you can see after the Nightfall card, we have another artifact card. So what would the one below that be? Overclock, that's a spell. This is a troop. We'll get to that in just a second. What Nightfall does is it causes it to go from day to night, and only melee attacks will work. This is extremely effective with troops like Major Fire. It's extremely effective with troops like Killbot, but is extremely effective on defense if you're going against a Van Gun or if Sheriff Justice is coming down at you. Play Nightfall. If you have something coming at you from far away, play Nightfall. If you need to run from a mad scientist, play Nightfall. If you're aggressive with it, play Nightfall with your Killbot. Use him to go in and just have everybody come to your Killbot. It's a very powerful card and a very diverse card. This next card is an artifact that we're going to look at, which is simple and complex at the same time. It's kind of difficult to use. What this card does is it shuffles the cards in your hand. It only costs 1 dough, so it could be seen as a cycle card. What is a cycle card? A cycle card is going to be technically any one of these cards because it's a cheap card you can use to cycle through your hand. You can only have 8 cards in your hand at once, so sometimes you want to focus on a certain card. Like I mentioned Killbot a few times. I do a Killbot cycle deck to where I'm just trying to essentially sort of throw away cards and get some value out of them so I can get back to the cards that are giving me a lot of value. So this helps to cycle. What this card will do is it shuffles the cards that are not in your hand. So the cards that are about to be queued into your hand, which can be useful if you're trying to focus on one specific card. The second stage of this artifact, because artifacts are cards that have to use both stages before you can cycle them, is Vanish. What this does, it returns a unit to your hand and lets you play it again for the dough cost of that card. So if you get a Killbot back, it's still going to cost 6 dough to play the Killbot, but you're going to be able to play the Killbot again and faster. Now, if you use Vanish on a troop from a spawner, like a Piranha from the Piranha tank, you will actually be able to spawn the entire Piranha tank, not just the Piranha, which is very creative and useful in a lot of different game modes. This next spell is massively powerful and my favorite cycle card. It's called Overclock. There's no counters to it. This is just something you place on a tower and it is going to reduce the amount of time you have before you can use the Rage or before you can use the Heal again. And it's so powerful because you don't have to wait until the tower has been used. You can place it on the tower before you have used the tower. So you can have an overclock on both towers getting ready to use either one. And then they're going to have, for me, it's I think about 10 seconds. Take a look at that. So yeah, 10 seconds immediately cut off of that 60 seconds that you have to wait to get your boost back. I think it's 60 seconds actually. That's just what my heart tells me. I can't believe I don't know that off the top of my head. And coming up for 2 dough, our first troop, which is a common card. And you can tell it's a common card because the background is green. Green for common. You got blue for rare. You got purple for epic. And you have this gold background for legendary. So this, because the outline of the card is regular, you can tell it's a troop. And then because the background is green, it is a common troop card that costs 2 dough. This card, very cool, creative card. It's called a Spell Grounding Rod. So basically, it absorbs a spell. You can come up and kill the Spell Grounding Rod with your commander, or you could use a cheap spell like Overclock on top of him to get rid of it. But this is extremely handy if you are trying to use something like Van Gun, which we'll get to. He's down here. He's a way to kill the commander. But if you're trying to use Van Gun, you need to protect Van Gun. So Spell Grounding Rod is a great way to prevent those spells from coming in and killing your Van Gun or whatever you're trying to protect. All right, y'all, we're picking up speed because we are familiar with card types. This next card is a common building, and it is a mine. So it takes 3 seconds to arm and turn invisible. So after 3 seconds go by, after you place it, it will turn invisible, and then it will blow up for 9,400 damage at level 8, which is devastating. That's almost enough to kill a mammoth. It does huge damage to the commander. It's not 9,000 damage because it's reduced, because it's normal damage. We'll talk about the different damage types here in a second as well. But what you need to note about the B mine is they can play it under your commander. You better catch it in that 3 second time or it's going to do massive damage. This next card is a new card introduced into the game. It is very, very fun to play. It acts like a mine where it goes invisible. It takes, I think, about 3 seconds to arm like the others, and it becomes invisible, and then if someone walks over it, the trap snaps. If it kills that unit, it rearms itself again. Things this is good against are things big, strong, heavy units, and the commander. It's great for holding them in place, holding a Dr. Death in place. You can actually try to kill the commander using this with like a Sheriff Justice or many other strategies, but it's not good against cards like Group of Piranhas, Swarm units. They're going to be able to take it out really easily. It's not going to kill Major Fire. It will trap Major Fire, but he'll be able to burn his way back out. It will do substantial damage to him, but that is the Bear Trap. It's a building card. It's a great card to use. The next one we're going to look at, actually, let's quickly talk about magic missiles. Why is there a mystery there? Because magic missiles shoot out however much dough you have in your hand at that moment. If you have 8 dough, it shoots 8 missiles. If you have 10 dough, it shoots 10 missiles. If you have 2 dough, it shoots 2 missiles. I used this card a lot when I first started playing the game, but it is It's a little difficult for a beginner to know the dough math. If you're trying to use 3 dough to kill a mad scientist, then it was a good trade, but it can just be a little too much to think about sometimes in a game. So with this card, it's not seen as often, but it uses however much spell dough you have at the moment. The next spell we're going to talk about is called Antifreeze. It's extremely simple. It prevents your card from getting frozen or unfreezes the card while healing it a little bit in the process. It does more healing if that unit was frozen. So it actually can be convenient to wait till your unit gets frozen to use the Antifreeze. We haven't talked about the freeze mechanic yet. It's one of the most powerful mechanics in this game. So Antifreeze is one of the most powerful spells because it gives you the ability to not worry as much about being frozen. The next card is super straightforward. We've got the caveman coming in at 2 dough. He is just a powerhouse because he only costs 2 dough, so he can be cycled. Even though he's not 1 dough, you can still use a 2 dough card to cycle. You can just play him in the back of your towers and just let him walk forward. You're usually going to get some value out of him because he's got so much health. He's a low dough tank, which those are always valuable in games like this. You can play him on top of units because of his health. Just, this is a very easy and strong card. Make sure to use it. You can use it in almost every situation. Next card we're looking at is a spell. It is called Duct Tape. What Duct Tape is going to do is it's going to work like invincibility, but it only keeps you invincible at 1 health. So the next hit you're going to take, you're going to die. For me, it lasts for 5.5 seconds. When I upgrade the card, it will last for 6 seconds. So it's extremely valuable. You can use it on the commander if you need 6 seconds to stay alive. You can use it on like a Mammoth if you need a little longer for it to be on the tower. It's a very straightforward card with a lot of power to it. I can see it being used on the clown car. Patch that clown car together and the world is over. Next, we have another mine, but this mine infests. So it doesn't do damage immediately. What it's going to do is it's going to infest the card, and upon death, another unit will pop out of that unit. So you'll see, let's take a look if it shows us the critter. The critters are stronger if the unit is stronger. So if you infest the commander, you get 1 big critter that comes out. It's very useful in that respect, but it's also useful when they if a large number of units like piranhas walk over it. That works great as well because when they die, then you have a group of critters coming back at them. It's kind of a confusing card. I recommend playing it. You'll get the idea of it very quickly. Up next is my favorite card in the game, my homie, the Mini Mander. The Mini Mander, we have a video coming out on Mini Mander tech, so just subscribe to the channel and you will get a deep look, but a surface level look. He's a 2 dough card you can cycle who follows the commander around, who benefits from all the buffs the commander gets, like the heal tower and the rage tower, and he can just do massive damage and support your commander. There's really no clear counter to the Mini Mander. People snipe the Mini Mander for a negative dough trade. Let's move on. Use the Mini Mander. Next up, we have a spell card that creates troop cards. So basically what this does is it drops 2 piranhas anywhere on the map. This works great with shutdown. It works great with the commander. If you shut down the tower and drop the piranhas on top of the tower, there's your kill combo right there. Try it out. Shutdown and piranhas. Barrier is another straightforward spell. Safety Dome, everybody calls it Barrier, but Safety Dome is essentially, it's just a safety dome. It can protect you from airstrike. It's a straight up counter to airstrike if you need it. You can even use it to protect your mines. You're going to use that with like Van Gun I mentioned. It's a great card to use if you're not using Spell Grounding Rod or with Spell Grounding Rod to just have extreme protection. It can also be useful to pop over a card like a Buck to just give him a little bit of extra health so he can get the job done. Barrier is great against spells and it's great for protecting units at that last second. Shutdown, baby. Shutdown is what I just said to use with the piranhas. You can place the shutdown right on top of the tower. The tower is useless. It can't shoot. The countdown for it to be used again doesn't count down, and they can't use it. So if you're trying to kill a commander, you can just big brain shut down his health tower. For the amount of time you have, that's when you nail it. So shutdown is extremely powerful for 2 dough. I would rank it as one of the strongest cards in the game when used correctly. Bloodthirst, or Bloodlust, as I used to call it for all my longtime watchers. I love you all. This card is very cool. We're not seeing it a lot right now, but I think we may see it sometime in the future. With Sheriff Justice being around, this could be really creative. But what Bloodthirst does is it causes any unit that gets caught inside of its radius to target the commander with boosted damage. And at my level, it's a 72% damage increased, which is nasty. You'll be seeing this in special game modes. Use this card sparingly, though. It takes a lot. People have tried Bloodthirst on Chop Chop. I don't think Bloodthirst on Chop Chop is a good combo. Even though it gets him to sneak in and attack the commander, for 7 dough, it's just not worth it. So I'm interested to see where this card goes, but right now, I don't have any tips for it being used competitively. The dude, Buck. Man, he's your all-around unit. He targets ground, he targets air. He can be useful in any single deck. With the slight nerf he received recently, he's not in every single deck, but you could still put Buck in most decks. He's so versatile. He's great at taking out units. You can play him reactionary to take out a mad scientist or something in the way and then get value from him. He doesn't get hit by the tower. So a lone Buck will take out an entire tower. You really can't go wrong with Buck. Give him a try, use him, get that extra damage. He's straightforward, one of the most straightforward cards in this game. The Gatling gun is a building. It's kind of like a stationary Buck, but it only targets ground. These are great if you want to have major defense. You can stack these cards. Their health does not dwindle over time, so you really can create a wall of Gatling guns. There's no straight counter to this card. Just use your commander to take it out. I don't like letting the enemy build up a bunch of Gatling guns. The Flying Killer Clown Giggles. For 3 dough, he actually is valuable. I know a lot of people rank him super low on certain tier lists, but I find a lot of use for the Flying Killer Clown. He can eliminate almost all air troops because of the amount of damage he does. And then once you pop his balloons, he's on the ground. Speaking of those balloons, they work great as a shield. You can stack him and just let him float around, and he can really soak up a lot of damage from cards like Buck if you use him as a sort of flying shield. And then when he's on the ground, he's quite strong as well. But this is a very niche card, so if you are a beginner, I would stray away from this card. You're going to get more use out of more straightforward cards as you learn. Invisibility is a very unique spell. I think it would be better described for you to understand it as untargetable. Yes, the troop is not able to be seen, but it's really not able to be targeted. The enemy doesn't know where it is, but even if they did, they're not able to target it. Certain things will damage an invisible unit, like an airstrike will damage an invisible unit. It doesn't make them invincible, but you cannot use any unit to target or commander to target that troop, which is so valuable with so many different things. It can even make buildings invisible and untargetable. So even though you know where the building is, you still can't have your commander click on that building. You do need to give it a second to take effect though, so don't just play invisibility to make something instantly untargetable. The Jetpack. Man, what a cool card Jetpack is. It can be a little bit annoying, and now that they've made it to 3 dough, you don't see it everywhere. The Jetpack allows your commander to fly, and he flies until you use the second part of the artifact card, which is rear entry, where he smashes to the ground, doing a ton of damage. My personal problem, which I'm not supposed to talk about problems in this video, but I think the fact that the Jetpack lasts forever is a problem. You could stay in the air the entire match, which will prevent you from collecting dough and certain other things that you use the commander on the ground for. But if you want to fly, use the Jetpack. You can fly the whole match, and sometimes it causes you to win because so many units in this game rely on the ground. It's time to talk about freezing, and what better unit to introduce it than the mad scientist herself. All units in this game that freeze are immune to freezing, which makes them very strong. I don't think the mad scientist should be immune to freezing. I think a bunch of freezing units shouldn't be immune to freeze. I think the only unit that should be immune to freeze is the Yeti, which I can't wait to talk about. But while we're talking about the mad scientist chills enemies and causes them to move slower. Now, while an enemy is chilled, they take double damage. There is chilling and freezing in this game. If you are chilled, you move slower. If you are frozen, you don't move at all. This is one of the units that freezes and has a massive range. It can throw from across the lane. It can throw from behind the tower. The Mad Scientist is a great way to take out cards that just have so much health. You can freeze the card and then do double damage. You can shred through so many units because of freezing. Use her range. Use Snipe to take her out. If you're having trouble with her, bring Snipe. Snipe is a clean way to just eradicate the Mad Scientist, and they can't react in time with a safety dome or the AKA barrier. They can't put a barrier down over the Mad Scientist with a Snipe. It is the hard counter to Mad Scientist. Major Fire is a beast. We mentioned him earlier with Nightfall because he does a melee range and he does massive damage in groups. You can use Nightfall to pull people closer to him or to keep him from getting targeted, but he's another unit that can get completely hard countered with the 3-doe snipe. We just talked about that with Mad Scientist. We'll talk about snipe pretty soon. Most cards that cost 3-doe, most troops, you can eradicate them with snipe. Major Fire is not an exception. He's got a very short range. He's great with things like Nightfall. He's also great with a card we're going to talk about called Discombobulator Ray because of his damage output. Massive damage output, big health. He doesn't die to the bear trap. Use Major Fire for that damage output and a tankier unit than Buck. This next card is a spell called Mischief. Think of it like a shutdown that works when the enemy tries to activate the tower you placed Mischief on. Mischief comes in invisible and will stay there until the tower is used, when it will do damage and disable the tower, or the card will be cast off completely, hard countered by anything that reveals invisibility, which we will talk about which cards those are in just a second. And here we go, the missile turret. One of the main things the missile turret does, it reveals invisible units. This will cause them to have no ability to play Mischief. If your opponent has missile turret in their hand, don't even play Mischief because they'll be able to get rid of Mischief every single time. Not only does the missile turret reveal invisible units, it does insane damage to flying units. For 3-doe, it is if you are annoyed by flying units, just add the missile turret. If you are annoyed by invisible units, just add the missile turret. That's the way to go. The next artifact we're going to talk about is Monkey on Your Back. Monkey on Your Back causes the enemy commander to move much slower and attack much slower, 40% slower to be exact. It's extremely useful when the commander is raged. It almost negates the rage damage. And then what it does is it sets you up to come with the second part of the artifact, which is Banana. What is great about Banana is it doesn't just work on your commander, it also works on other units, and it causes them to attack twice as fast. You can shred towers with Banana. Use it on your commander, use it on your troops. It's phenomenal. The Person Eating Plant is a troop card, and it truly is epic like its purple background. It lays in wait under the ground and does 8% damage a second to any card, so it's going to do a lot of damage to a card with more health pretty fast, and if it manages to kill that card, it generates 1 doe for you. It works kind of like a mine, but it doesn't need any time to become invisible because it's not invisible, it's underground. You can play it underneath a troop to start attacking it right away. The Person Eating Plant is very unique and I absolutely love it. Here it is, Snipe, or the 3-doe troop eraser. Almost all the troops in this game that cost 3-doe can be a big problem, and Snipe is your way to erase them. Use Snipe on even things above 3-doe. You can use it on the No Riot Pete. It works great against Hurtbot. Snipe is a powerful way to do 2,500 damage for me at level 7. I need to upgrade it. It even does decent against the commander, even though it's normal damage type, so it does a little bit less damage against building and commanders. It is still valuable to use on the commander when he's running away, and you just need that final headshot. Mr. Poof is a swarmy unit that keeps creating illusions of himself. He's very good if you just want to cause, he's very good at tying up units that can only target single units. He's really just something that causes commotion. Use him to tie up a buck, don't use him against Major Fire. Major Fire or anything that's able to get rid of large units, large numbers of units will just eradicate the fabulous Mr. Poof. The Witch isn't dangerous, her curse is dangerous. Her curse does 14,000 damage at my card level, which may be the most damage done by any single card from one single thing. The Witch is great if you're trying to trap an enemy commander who's got rage. Play the Witch on the card the enemy commander is attacking. He will accidentally kill the Witch, and he will take almost 14,000 damage because it is reduced because its damage type is normal. The Witch is extremely powerful. You need to snipe the Witch. You need to do anything you can to keep the Witch from getting killed by your tower, and a lot of times your commander as well. Yetlings. Yetlings are so powerful. They've always been powerful. They've been one of the cards that's had more stat changes than any card in this game because of their usability, and they freeze. They don't chill, they freeze. They stop a unit in its tracks, and 3 Yetlings come down the field. So they explode. They do a suicide to freeze, and it is massively powerful. They cause so much disruption. They are great for getting rid of mines, traps. They are great for stopping big units. Anything that is susceptible to freeze, the Yetlings will crush. Use the Yetlings. You can split them at the back of your tower. There really isn't a bad time to use the Yetlings. Super easy to play and super powerful. Our next card is a legendary spell, and it's also a tech card. We haven't talked about any tech cards yet. What a tech card does is every time you use the card, it gets stronger for 3 uses. So the airstrike kills everything in a straight line, and that line gets wider each time. You're going to want to counter it with things like Safety Dome and things like the spell Grounding Rod, because it can wipe out so many units at once. You're not seeing it as much lately, but I think we will see it creep back into the gameplay as we see more mines and other things on the field where you really can get your use out of an airstrike. A bunch of piranhas. This is your basic ground swarmy unit. It does massive damage. It comes out with 6 piranhas, so that's a total of 6 units. Major fire burns them away completely. Any unit, even like the mad scientist, anything that's able to attack a group of units at once is going to be phenomenal for taking this card out. This card is great for taking out large units that are only able to target single targets. This is your traditional swarm ground unit. It does massive damage and it dies really easily to things that are able to do damage to multiple targets at once. Barrel Drop is a spell that really shows off the creativity of this game, because what you're able to do with it is drop dough in the back and reserve it. So basically you spend 4 dough to drop the barrel, but then you get more dough out of the barrel. So if you want to play units that cost a lot of dough, you can use your commander to keep getting this dough out of these barrels. It is a great way to play heavy units. Use the barrel drop when you're trying to keep your commander out of the battle, and you're trying also, quick tip, the mini mander can help the commander get dough out of the barrel drop. It will double the speed of him getting the dough out of there, which is massively helpful. So the mini mander couples great with the barrel drop. There's really no hard counter. You really want to be wary if your enemy commander is back there getting dough from the barrel drop. The cheer squad is a unit that you cannot let survive. They will play that in the back because it causes a buff, a damage buff on every single unit inside of the radius, which grows the longer the card stays on the map. And at my level, it's a 66% damage increase. This unit is like lamb and tuna fish, goes so good with Van Gun. Van Gun, you add a cheer squad next to it, and it's going to boost him by 66% for 4 dough. I've seen back in the golden days of this, or I don't know, the golden days, back in the Van Gun days and cheer squad days, people would get tons of cheer squads with 1 Van Gun, and it would just be a one-hit kill. The cheer squad, I think we'll see come back in a lot of different ways, but right now it's really used primarily with Van Gun. You see the cheer squad and Van Gun together. So if you're trying to play Van Gun, which we will get into very soon, the cheer squad is going to be for you. Chop Chop is a troop that goes invisible all on his own. He doesn't need the invisibility spell, and he does more damage when he's coming out of invisibility. When he attacks, he comes out of invisibility. He's kind of like a traditional assassin card. A lot of people were using him with the Bloodthirst card, but I never found effectiveness with it. He's great for taking out troops. He's a cool card to play with. You don't see him very much at the moment. Try Chop Chop out if you need to kill a unit with invisibility. But how do you reveal invisible units without just using the missile turret? Well, Chapa has a lot going for it. Chapa can attack ground units, it can attack air units, it reveals invisible units, and it disables buildings. Whoa, that's a lot to take in. One thing Chapa is extremely useful for is taking out mines, bear traps. If someone has a bunch of these things on the field, the Chapa will go through, reveal the mine, and destroy the mine. It's great for disabling towers. It's also great for revealing things like what we just talked about, which is Chop Chop, because once something's not invisible, it's pretty much useless, especially things like Mischief, which we talked about earlier. Chapa completely shuts down Mischief. Oh, the unholy monstrosity that is Discombobulator Ray. High dough cards would be such a nuisance in this game. They're so strong, but Discombobulator Ray exists. Thanks to Discombobulator Ray, high dough cards are not a threat. This will turn any unit into a blob of purple goo that dies much easier. Not only is it an advantage because you can keep something off the map for 8 seconds. For me, it's 8 seconds at this level. So use it on something like a Yeti it causes that unit to be useless for 8 seconds and take a damage multiplier of 1.5. It is so massive in so many situations. It's even good to use it on a witch because it gets rid of the curse that the witch leaves behind. Discombobulator Ray even works on buildings, but it does not work on towers. If you're having a problem with people playing buildings, spawners, any sort of building, even mines, the Drillatron X is your solution. Drillatron does enough damage to take out an evenly leveled Porta Potty. It takes out the Beehive. It takes out the Piranha tank. It takes out buildings. And when it takes out a building, you get a 2-dough reimbursement. So you can also use it on mines. Even just a single 2-dough mine, it will be an even trade because you spend 4, but you get 2-dough back. This is a straightforward card that you use to get rid of buildings. You don't really use it to get a lot of tower damage, but you can. You can cycle it on the tower to kill a tower with just the Drillatron, but you'd be better off using magic missiles if you were trying to just do tower damage like that. The Drillatron X is your building removal tool. Heelbot. Heelbot is extremely straightforward. It follows around whatever unit has the lowest health and heals it. It's great for healing your commander up. It's great for healing up a unit that is just on the brink of death, but it dies extremely easily and people fear the Heelbot. You can snipe the Heelbot and it's gone. And usually someone's commander is going to go get the Heelbot just because of how much health he's able to dish out so quick. The Heelbot is very useful, but you need to protect him. Napalm is a 4-dough spell that is a great way to get rid of troops if you have time to do it. It does damage over time, not immediately. The damage starts immediately, so they won't be able to use a barrier, so that's valuable for it. But the damage being done over time is also valuable. It keeps things like the commander from getting dough out of his dough barrel. So use Napalm if you can get value from maybe getting a witch and a mad scientist together, or some troops that you can get together that you have time to kill, because it's not going to kill them immediately. No Riot Pete is a shield on wheels. He literally blocks almost all damage. 99% of damage that comes in from the front is blocked by No Riot Pete. This card would be ridiculously OP if it wasn't for the fact that we have a commander and we can go behind him and we can target behind No Riot Pete. There's a lot of value for No Riot Pete when you're trying to stop a commander from killing something. He's great for protecting things like a Van Gun, but he does die to snipe, which is an extremely sad thing to see. No Riot Pete is a shield. Use him when you need a shield. Next up is Repairman Dan. He's the only card in the game that is able to heal towers and buildings. He's extremely useful if you need to protect buildings or you need to protect your tower. He's able to heal the Inhumane Cannonball. He's able to heal the bunker. He's able to heal your tower, and he also has quite a bit of health as well. He doesn't die to snipe. He's a tanky unit and he provides a lot of help. You're going to get the enemy commander typically to come try to kill Repairman Dan because he heals the tower for so much. Not just the tower, buildings. If you use buildings and you rely on your tower, bring Repairman Dan. This is a unique card for 4 dough. It comes in as a building, but then becomes a troop. It creates a lot of very interesting interactions. You do not want to let this Rex egg hatch. And if it is on your side, you don't really need to worry so much about protecting the Rex. It only costs 4 dough. You play the Rex egg, it's going to distract the enemy commander. He's going to have to use spells to get rid of the egg, and if the egg does hatch, it becomes this giant monster that does so much damage for 4 dough. But even if they kill the egg after it's at half health, this will still come out. If they kill the egg immediately, nothing happens. The egg is just gone. It was a waste of 4 dough. So it is nice to see if at least the small Rex can come out. But basically, I use Rex for the disruption it causes, almost like an expensive cycle card. I used to try to use it as my win condition, but really, it just causes so much commotion. You cannot let the Rex hatch. My man Sheriff Justice took a while to get into the battlefield, but now that he's had his buff, he is everywhere. He can control the commander. He only targets the commander. He ignores everybody else. He goes straight for the commander, lassos him, pulls him in, slows him for a time. This is very valuable for trying to kill the commander. It's valuable for yanking the commander over mines. It's even valuable for defense. If you're trying to if you have a Rex egg and a commander's coming to get the Rex egg, use Sheriff Justice to yank him off. He'll slow down down the raged commander, and you have got your 4-dough value. Very powerful artifact here called Sir Your Bomb. Sir Your Bomb gives your commander a bomb that does damage to everything that gets caught, every enemy unit that gets caught inside of the bomb radius. A lot of people think that it damages all of them. You don't have to worry. It's not going to hurt your own units. You use the bomb, you go kamikaze, and you do massive damage. It's great against buildings. It's great for killing the enemy commander in a pinch. And if you look at the next phase, Sir Your Dynamite. This is great. Sir Your Dynamite gives dynamite to the enemy commander that does not damage your units. I see so many people, once they get handed the dynamite, chasing my units like it's going to do damage. It does not do damage to my unit. So this is an all beneficial spell. Sir Your Bomb does damage to all the enemy's units, but this one that you give the enemy does not do damage in return to your own units, which the value of Sir Your Dynamite is really great if you're playing someone who is stacking, if they have Grievels with them, if they have Mini-Manders, any unit that follows the commander will be taken out when Sir Your Dynamite explodes. This 4-dough artifact is a way to steal an enemy's card. It takes 3 seconds for the card to get stolen, which they can target and kill the troop trap. If you're playing against someone who has a troop trap, you have to target the troop trap because it is going to steal your unit. What kind of unit should you use troop trap on? Well, anything that costs more than 4 dough is a good reason. So let's say they have a Killbot coming down at you. Use troop trap to capture that unit. Then you can play that unit back. It will play the version of the unit it caught, meaning if you catch a phase 2 Killbot, it will play the phase 2 Killbot again. So you're going to want to wait to use it until they get that phase 3 Killbot. It's great to use on something like a Mammoth. You can catch their Mammoth and then bring their Mammoth back against them for 4 dough only. So you get rid of their Mammoth, which cost 8 dough, for 4 dough, and then you play a Mammoth for 4 dough, which usually costs 8 dough. So you can get massive dough trades with this. I'll just say play it intelligently because people are going to try to stop you from using it by targeting the troop trap. Protect your troop trap. Cyborg is all over the place, baby, and I mean literally. You can play him anywhere on the map. He's able to teleport, and when he teleports, he does melee splash damage. He also has a shotgun, which he can't target air with. He is useful to play on someone's tower, but he's more useful to play for getting rid of units using his teleport ability. There is a strategy where you use bananas on top of Cyborg, where you use the commander to tank against the enemy tower, which is phenomenal. It's fun to play. But Cyborg, I've been getting a lot of use out of Cyborg by using his teleport range. It's 4 to 30 tiles, so you're not going to want to play him on top of another unit. You're going to want to play him with that 4 tile distance at least, so you can utilize that teleport damage. Sometimes though, if you got to use him in a pinch to take out a witch behind some tower or something, use it. He's valuable. Dr. Death is how we are going to introduce poison into this beginner's crash course guide. Dr. Death is a suicide mission man. He chases down the commander and he throws a giant puddle of poison. Dr. Death is great for not just damaging the commander. To really get a lot of use out of Dr. Death, you're going to want to get him to cover the map because that poison stays on the field and pretty much kills any troop that gets stuck inside of it. It's very difficult to kill Dr. Death. You're going to need something like Discombobulator Ray, which is a great counter to Dr. Death. Disco Ray is a great counter to almost all the cards as we move on from here because it costs 4 dough and everything from here on out is going to be 5 dough and up. This card is very straightforward. The fish tank spawns piranhas, which you've also seen come down in the form of the parachute piranhas, and you've also seen in the bunch of piranhas. They're small, weak ground units that do a lot of damage. The Hurtbot also uses poison like Dr. Death, but he doesn't go kamikaze. He has got an extremely massive range and a decent amount of health. He floats in the air and hurls poison at any unit that's on the ground. Poison does not damage robots, but it does massive damage to the commander. It does extra damage to the commander. The Igloo is a building card that the commander can enter. So the advantage to that is it's going to protect the commander from damage because the building will absorb the damage until the building is destroyed. And while the commander's in it, it causes him to be able to freeze units with his attack. This is one of the only ways to freeze air units as far as I know of. It's extremely valuable if you play wisely to get in and out to freeze units to do double damage because while a unit is frozen, it does double damage. 5 dough is a lot to play for a troop like Mr. Boom, but he's got the damage to back it up. He shoots out a massive spread, which can wipe out so many troops and mines in the process. Even if they're invisible, it will destroy the mines. He shoots from outside the tower's range. It does massive damage to the commander. He's just a troop you can't leave on the map for long. Make sure to take out Mr. Boom. You can snipe Mr. Boom. He is devastating. Barbarics does big damage immediately. For 6 dough, it's a little bit of a risk to play. Personally, I don't use Barbarics very often because it's the charge damage you're looking for. Once she charges, she only does 390 damage at the level I have her at. That's not very much damage, and she doesn't charge as much as I'd like. It's a risky card to play. People are not going to let Barbaric survive long, but it's difficult to kill her with the amount of health she has. So if you are going to use Barbarics, try to use her when you know you're going to get some value out of the smash she uses, because once she smashes, she's trashes. Bee Squad, the bees die fast, but they kill fast. Bees can do so much damage when supported by a tank, but they die instantly from anything that can target air. With the Bee Squad, once one of the bees is taken out, you get 3 bees for 6 dough. Once one bee is destroyed, the rest of the bees attack faster. So there is a cool synergistic effect to how the Bee Squad works. But you really need to be careful to protect the bees because it's not enough of a boost that they're valuable without still being protected by a tank. Next, we have the Beehive. This should be simple. The Beehive spawns bees one at a time. It is very valuable if you're able to shut down the tower and let the bees really instantly destroy anything they get their hands on, or their bee mittens. The Bunker is another building card that you can enter, but instead of giving your commander the ability to freeze, it increases the damage that he deals and increases his range. That's the big takeaway. It also gives you a little bit more protection than the Igloo does. It's a great way to protect your commander and increase his range. Very straightforward and powerful card when coupled with things like Repairman Dan, because he can heal the bunker and continue to protect your commander. Griell follows the commander around just like the mini-mander, but Griell creates dough every time another enemy unit or your own unit is killed. So you get a trade back. Griell is a very wild card that's seen quite a lot of changes, and you really have to have a deck style prepared to use Griell in his current state. You have to sacrifice cards to get your value back. Griell is a card you cannot let the enemy have. If the enemy plays a Griell, you have to destroy the Griell. Under no circumstances can you let a Griell survive. You will lose. Griell is one of these cards where it's all or nothing, like Griell, like Clown Car, like Van Gun. We're about to get into all these all or nothing play styles, which World War Doe I think is great for. I can't wait to talk about the Clown Car in that respect. The Inhumane Cannonball is a siege building that is extremely effective for taking out towers. But note, once both towers are destroyed, it will not target the enemy commander. It is very powerful, but people focus on it and destroy it quite often. So when you play Inhumane Cannonball, bring a Repairman Dan or have some way to protect the cannonball. Well, here we go. Killbot. My favorite tech card, one of my favorite cards in the game. He's a menace. He's so powerful. There's so many uses from Killbot. Killbot is a unit that gets stronger each time, so he is one of these tech cards. It's really only the 3rd phase that you're looking to get Killbot to. I'm not going to talk about each one of the phases of Killbots. I'm just going to talk about what you're going to use him for or how you're going to counter him. Obviously, Discombobulator Ray is a way to counter Killbot and kill Killbot, but Killbot is going to be the one unit that destroys troops easier than any other unit. He does Slayer damage when you get him to stage 3. I know I said we were going to talk about damage types. Let's do that now. Slayer damage deals increased damage to troops. So once you get him to his final stage, he's going to do, at my level, 1,400 damage a second that is increased to all troops. He annihilates groups of troops. He can destroy any amount of troops the Killbot can destroy. The one thing you need to make sure to remember about the Killbot is you cannot damage the Killbot when he's not attacking. That is what makes him so devastating. He'll walk right over your mines. He'll kill a witch and ignore the curse. So if you want Killbot to be damaged, you have to keep him attacking. And that is the problem with Killbot. You have to tank the damage damage from the Killbot to destroy him. Freeze is his enemy. Make sure you try to use things like Freeze or Discombobulator Ray, because if your enemy gets multiple Killbots on the field, your really only hope is to hop in a jetpack and wait till the timer runs out. Van Gun is a card you can learn how to play from the YouTuber Sweaty. Go check out Sweaty's channel. He's the best Van Gun player in the game. But Van Gun has a giant gun that he shoots at the commander. He's awesome, fun to play with. He's one of these all or nothing cards I talk about. If you're going to play Van Gun, you got to protect Van Gun. You got to put cheerleaders back there with Van Gun, spell grounding rods, barriers. You're going to use teleport to keep the enemy commander from getting to your Van Gun. So you see all these things we've talked about, like teleport. Everything is coming into play now. We know what we're talking about. You want to be able to use cycle cards to get back to your barrier or back to teleport to keep people from getting to Van Gun, because Van Gun is expensive. You're only going to get your value out of Van Gun if he survives. Which, speaking of, he can die so easily. He can be killed with most spells in the game. Even Snipe will take out Van Gun for a positive 3 dough trade. That is insane. Case and point, protect your Van Gun. And if you're going against Van Gun, destroy Van Gun. All right, you want to talk about an all or nothing card? Here it is, the Clown Car. The Clown Car is wild. The Clown Car is a spawner unit that spawns the 2 heaviest units in your hand when it opens, and it takes time to do it. This is the play style that you go for if you just want one thing to work. Because when the Clown Car opens, if they have Mammoths, you're going to die. So what I mean by all or nothing, you're going to see people putting invisibility on the Clown Car. You're going to see people putting duct tape on the Clown Car, antifreeze on the Clown Car. You're basically doing everything you can to keep the Clown Car alive. And if you see a Clown Car from the enemy, you have to kill it. Now, you need to expect that it's going to become invisible because they're going to be playing invisibility. Your Discord Ray or Discombobulator Ray, you need to be ready to be there when you use it, because they can still make it invisible once you discombobulate it. Then they can still add duct tape on it after the fact. So when you see the Clown Car, drop what you're doing. Kill the Clown Car. It is what this game is about. When you are playing someone with a Clown Car, you are killing the Clown Car. You're no longer playing World War Doe. You're playing Kill the Clown Car. Confetti the Yeti is an ice shield, quite literally. He's immune to freezing and chilling effects, and I think he should be. I don't know if all cards should be immune to freezing. Why is the Mad Scientist immune to freezing? I don't know, but the Yeti's immune to freezing because he's the Lord of Ice. In this game, at least. I don't think anybody's more icy than Confetti the Yeti. I absolutely love Confetti the Yeti as a card. I like these cards that do a lot. What does he do? He comes in as a building as a shield. That shield takes damage for you, 100% of the damage, but once they destroy that building, out comes Confetti the Yeti, who's a splash damage dealing monster. He does splash damage and he freezes things. And once something is frozen or chilled, which he chills it, it takes double damage. So the damage he deals is increased. He just wipes out swarms of unit. He completely annihilates the Killbot, which is so valuable. Unless they have antifreeze. If they pop antifreeze on the Killbot is going to use that Slayer damage to shred through Confetti the Yeti so quickly. Dred Zeppelin is a straightforward win condition. What is a win condition? It is the card that you are using to try to make that win happen. Now, in this game, it's confusing about a win condition because you can have so many different strategies. There's not a clear win condition, but Dred Zeppelin is quite literally a clear win condition. You play the Dred Zeppelin, it's going to get tower damage. It's another card that they have to drop what they're doing and attack. Since there aren't many cards in this game that attack air, you're usually going to get the enemy commander's attention. You're usually going to get him to use rage, and you're going to want to try to play Dred Zeppelins as often as possible because they do so much damage so quickly to the tower. If you're going against one, use Discombobulator Ray to take it down. You're going to need to have a mini Mander with rage. You're going to need a buck. Anything you can to get rid of it. Just do not let it get to your tower, and it's going to get there quick. Porta Potty could be seen as a high risk, high reward card. For 7 dough, you get a lot of bucks. That's high reward, but it can be easily taken out with cards like Sir Your Bomb or even cards like Drillatron. Drillatron eradicates the Porta Potty and makes it like you wish you never even played it in the first place. So if you're going to play Porta Potty, be ready that it may get destroyed. And if you're playing against Porta Potty, know that you need to take the Porta Potty out because those bucks are going to outrange most of the troops you're playing, and they're going to shred through your tower if you give them a chance to pile up. Take the Porta Potty out, use a Drillatron, erase the Porta Potty. Tankarina is another tower killing beast like the Zeppelin, but she's on the ground. She's got a small shield for the beginning of her health, so she's extremely tanky. She shoots out of her gun on the way there, but then she switches into tower killing mode and uses her tank gun. Tankarina is an easy way to get tower damage and needs to be protected. You need to remember to bring antifreeze with Tankarina, and if you're going to go against Tankarina, remember that you can just freeze her to take her out. She's very susceptible to freezing. The Mammoth is kind of like Tankarina, but she freezes people and has charge damage. The Mammoth is extremely powerful. You're seeing it a lot right now. You see it popping out of clown cars. If you see a clown car, you should know that 2 Mammoths are probably going to pop out of it. What do you do to get rid of the Mammoth since you can't freeze it? Mines are extremely powerful if you can play them before they have a chance to get there. But here I come again. Discombobulator Ray. If you have Discombobulator Ray, wait till the Mammoth is close enough to your tower to use Discombobulator Ray on and then destroy the Mammoth. She costs 8 dough, so it is a very high risk card to play, but she usually gets the reward. Once again, this is a beginner's guide, so I'm not sure if you guys are even close to getting these cards, but I still want you to see them and know what the game has in store for you, because you won't even know how much this card costs until you unlock the card. So I want to show you each and every one of the cards in the game as we're coming to our 9 dough Mama Rex. She is a massive beast that spawns Rex eggs. She moves around the field in a random pattern and drops Rex eggs. Another card that you just gotta get rid of. Mama Rex is so creative. What a cool card. It's a mobile spawner, guys. You can take out Mama Rex in any of the ways we talked about before, like the Discombobulator Ray, Rage Commander. You just gotta get rid of Mama Rex. And with her having 14,000 health, it's gonna take some time. The cards that we don't have in my deck yet are Spell Lab, which is going to be something that when you use it, you get a random spell, and then you're able to use that random spell. If I don't have it, it's going to be a long time before one of the beginners watching this video has it. You're not beginners, y'all. You're just starting. I bet you're already better than me. Bobby Sue, she's coming soon, so make sure you go check out the World War Doe website, where you can find out all the release notes. You can find the comics. Go follow them on Instagram. You also can see the skins have powers in this game, y'all. We have videos on the skin powers. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. This video wore me out a little bit. If you watched this long, thank you so much. If you contributed to the comment section to help out this community and let them know any beginner tips, we'll do more than just this beginner card overview. We'll do some gameplay beginner videos where you can see, lingo about like what capping a dough barrel means and certain other things. But for this, I just wanted to show you each and every card and give you a beginner's overview of what works and what doesn't work. Thank you guys for being here, for sticking around for this whole thing. I love each and every one of y'all from the bottom of my heart to the top of my head. Peace.